Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene for the Living World of Darkness from Rage Across New York. The Sept of the Green has returned, at least in the case of one particular Metis, to something of the norm. She's mechanically returned to her duties. Her heart's hardly in it, but at least there was the cry of her violin this morning, and will be again come twilight. At least she has seen to the shrines and made the proper gestures to the proper spirits. But the better part of her day has been spent with her head in Saoirse's lap as the Galliard has looked over her extensively, showing a great deal of care, in fact. But sooner or later she has her own things to get to, and when left to her own devices, 10 Point has only so many options and so many distractions before she's bound to make a bad idea, make an unwise action. And thus it is that sooner or later, looks like it's around about evening, Aiden will hear the very tentative and somewhat lighter than normal clicks of claws up the stairs to the porch. It's not loud. It's not going to break through a bunch of music or anything like that if it's blaring. But it's a familiar enough sound that it's something that one readily picks up. It's like hearing a car come in the driveway. You can't help but kind of notice and be aware. So there will be a very tentative, very slow click of claws up the porch steps. And after a few strides onto the porch, they will cease.
The door will open slowly, and she will see the figure or the silhouette of Aiden there, staring.
And by the time the door opens, she'll have fallen to her belly on the wooden floor of the porch. And as the door creaks open, and it's definitely that mop-headed silhouette, she will writhe herself slowly over onto her back, tail curled tightly between her legs, paws curled up above her.
Look who it is. The prodigal Metis returned home again.
I'm sorry, Raya.
Sorry for what?
For disobeying you. For doing it in front of others. For running.
I see. So you thought it best to humiliate me then?
I did not make the choice to humiliate you, Raya.
You didn't.
No, Raya. That is not what I wanted.
I see how it is then. I see that all that time to you has been wasted.
No, Raya.
It certainly looks like it to me.
I could not find a way to do what you asked. without breaking one of your rules, Raya.
Is it me you fear more, or is it Balian's judging stare?
And there's certainly an uncomfortable squirm, but she twists her head around so that she can lift her muzzle better, probably having to twist it onto its side so that the antlers don't prevent her from tipping it up. I don't obey you out of fear, Raya.
Well, then what was it?
You have taught me not to lie, Raya. So I could not. If I had answered, it would have had to be the truth. And you've taught me, Raya, not to keep secrets. But that does not mean I should have said what I said to make you ask. And neither you nor my alpha will abide disloyalty, Raya. I could not have said it in front of others, in front of non-pack. You would have been angry, Raya. And our beta, he would have cast me from the pack.
He'll take a measured step forward. You hear the standard like thump on the wood.
There's a
So what was the
moderate
lesson?
cringe. And her ears, they kind of snap forward. As if it's, and in fact, it is very clear that she's confused and stunned by the question.
What was the lesson?
And she grasps and struggles. There's a long pause as she works through all that she's been through. Sometimes, Raya, there is no right answer. And I will do what is wrong.
Well done. Now you're grasping truly what it is to be a metis.
And at the well done, she goes slack in what's plainly relief. Just kind of dead weights onto the floorboards. The legs kind of flop over. She ends up kind of messily on her side. And while generally one assumes that lupines don't cry, she will prove otherwise.
Very important question, Kate. Do you have a scene dice roller set up?
I don't, but I can.
That would be much appreciated.
That is a thing that I can do for you. It is in Werewolf.
Okay. The hit.
And if I'm assuming correctly, remember she is prone.
Oh, she's prone. That's 2 to hit then. So roll one more dice. Oh no, why did I roll 7? Jesus Christ, no. Just the one to one. Okay. Roll 7 dice. Just die. Oh yeah, no, it's still the same. Soak 2 to the face.
Soaked.
All right. Yeah, he just turns and just poof, socks you one straight in the face.
She doesn't budge. She takes
And
the
then-
blow well, doesn't seem to be especially injured as a result, but she doesn't make a single move to get away from it. She doesn't even curl up.
And here it comes. Oh my. Aiden and these headbutts are fucking lethal, man. For some reason, he does shit with punching, but the headbutt roll it deuces it. That's 1, 2, 3.
One of them is soaked.
Oh, that's a solid. Yeah, he just comes, feints with the left and then hits with a solid strike to the head, with his head.
I will say that this will be comical, if only because she is like flopped on the ground. He'll probably have to like grab her by an ankle or an antler and like pull her head up just to headbutt her.
And he will do so again because Aiden is venting his rage. She's prone. That's 3. Thankfully. Or 3.
And I'm, unless you say you are spending rage, going to assume I'm healing a bashing in between.
Mm-hmm.
Right, she soaks 2 of it.
That's another one. And I'm going to make a real roll real quickly.
All right. Feel free to understand that, like, as this is happening, if anything.
Charisma intimidation roll.
Well, okay, at least up to then, she looked relieved.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just roll for lulls. No, nothing.
Oh, gee. So
Nothing
after the
flat
headbutt, I mean, he scream right down at her. It's full of rage, and yeah, there's a lot of pent up fucking. You can tell straight away from his face. He's like, this. Yeah, he just screams right into her face. Like basically, I'm assuming he's kneeling over her after headbutting down her, and he just screams right into her face.
Easy to do if you're holding her head up by an antler. And at least this time he gets a reaction besides a thankful dead waiting. And she, with that, seems to snap back to it and gives an initial kind of comical thrash as her various legs kind of lash out and kind of whip around as she tries to get her bearing. And then they will kind of scrabble under her, both to curl her up into a more defensive position and to begin scrabbling at the floorboards as she attempts to pull out from the grip on her antler.
Yeah.
Giving a yelp.
And that is where the second headbutt comes down. Oh. And I leveled up as well. Thanks. Thank you, me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. That's 6. No, that's not 6. That's 5. Whew.
Well, 4 of it is soaked.
Mm-hmm. So that's the second headbutt. And
At least this time he gets like an appreciable little yelp on the impact, seeing as she's already shaken.
so he will spend a rage because can't be too careful. What's biting again in Hamid?
Hold on, I actually have this somewhere. Give me 1 second. God damn it. We go to the drive. Werewolf resources. House rules. So bite damage. I don't think you get even a +1 in Hamid, and it will be, I assume, lethal since it's still something that can cut and shear as opposed to like blunt damage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you still get a -1 diff.
What's the roll though? There's a dex brawl.
Huh? Yeah.
It's a dex brawl. Okay.
It would be the same as normal. It's just you don't get any extra damage, I think, because you've got.
What's why did I roll 20? Jeez, fuck. Sorry, I rolled 70.
See how it is.
I was like, what the fuck? Oh, that's even worse.
No, that's still only 3.
It's still 3. That's just a +1 damage. I'm assuming in Hamid, right?
I mean, I'm assuming in Hamid you wouldn't even get the +1.
Oh yeah.
At least in Glabro you get +1 lethal, but with like blunt human teeth.
No, I'm making sure so I do this correctly.
I mean, honestly, like what they said was really bro, but I mean, I assume you can still do it.
All right. That's 2 lethal.
That's soaked.
Oh no. Second spend of rage, same roll. He will take skin.
Oh, Jesus.
Fuck.
You succeeded there, buddy.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, Lord.
Please soak a portion of that. Oh.
I will soak 1 out of the 5.
So does that take you down, knock you out?
That puts her back at it puts her at 5 total because she had 1 standing when you started blowing rage.
So he bites. I mean, it comes down his teeth, snarl a bit, and tugging at the skin. Next thing, off the side of her cheek, just rips. You know, his blood is dripping down his face, and he will look down at her very seriously. That's so you remember the lesson. Do you understand?
Oh yeah, and she lets out like this horrible shrieking noise, like. You'd be amazed the pitches that a canine can get to, really. And yeah, writhes as a hunk of her face is torn off with his teeth. And in the wake of that much damage and that much intimidation, she just goes back to almost deadweight style, just kind of hanging there and shaking.
Am I clear that you have a reminder of your lesson? And to never humiliate me again?
And there, it takes her a second to do more than like let out a whine or a whimper when her maw opens. And it's finally through the pack link that she will answer in a quavering, "Yes, Shreya."
And with a yell, with a growl of satisfaction, he will grab her by the antlers and just drag her out to the porch and just dump her there. You know?
I thought we were out on the porch the whole time.
I'll find a tree on the ground then.
That works.
Oh.
And yeah, she doesn't have the nerve to resist at this point. And upon being flung down the steps and onto the dirt, will curl up there into the smallest ball humanly possible.
And he will walk over, kneel down, lift up the head by the hair, which probably hurts like shit. You know, considering her face is sore. He'll lift up the head so she's locking eyes with him. Now my rage is gone. And now I can be calmer around you again.
And yeah, she's given a bit of a squirm, not enough to be seen as an evasive action per se. Just certainly not anything like pleasure at being grabbed up by her scruff, as it were. Thank you, Raya.
Don't make me this angry ever again. Because next time, I might kill you. And that's not a threat. That's the danger.
And as much as it can, her head kind of falls in shame. The guilt is like practically pulsing through the pack link.
And he will lift her head up so she looks at him again. And I do not want to kill you. Because at the end of the day, for all your faults and failings, for even my own faults and failings, you're my family. And I have to do this in order to protect you from the worm.
And the waves of resulting emotion, like you can imagine that if she was in Hamid, she'd be ugly crying right now. Thankfully, this is not a feat she can accomplish in Lupus.
Because at the end of the day, 10 Point, I love you as a packmate. And I'm willing to make those sacrifices for you and to show you what you need to know, as much as it pains me to do so.
And at that point, if the grip on her scruff loosens even the slightest bit, in fact, she might even surge against it a little bit, trying to kind of lunge forward and into him, trying to press her head into his chest. Very careful of the antlers, mind you, but...
And yeah, he does let go of the grip and let her flop into him.
And yeah, he is saved from a bout of ugly crying by the grace of Gaia. But nonetheless, in Lupus, this will manifest in that she is all the same trying to keep very close to him. Even the words in the pack link are kind of garbled, albeit there is ample thanks. There is somewhere in there the echo of loving him. And yeah, she just desperately gets as close to him as humanly possible, even while the side of her face is slowly knitting together.
And he just strokes her hair and will, to be honest, you'll hear a small whisper of her to shift up to Hamid, and he will carry her and sit with her out on the porch, letting her fall asleep against him.
And she will do so at the bidding. Shifting up into Hamid, and she doesn't even care if she's being carried at this point. That is that much more contact. So she'll take a hold of him as she's carried up, and yeah, we'll latch onto him. Thankfully, not quite in the full throes of ugly cry, but with tears streaming down her face and like kind of shake-upping and hiccuping periodically as she's held against him.
And he will softly hum, stroke her long red hair, and he will sing in a very low voice. Till she falls asleep, obviously.
Yeah, probably. She'll eventually run out of energy and will blink blearily for a while. And then with the just overwhelming sense of relief, yeah, we'll probably just pass out.
Yeah, and Aiden will sit there, probably end up passing out himself, you know. And yeah, the both will fall asleep on a bench on the porch.
Oh, with this surprisingly non-violent and non-deadly ending. I think it is safe to say thank you, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. We'll see you next time on the Living World of Darkness. Rage across New York.